Hello and welcome to Rik Sly's gaming podcast, formerly the Strange Play podcast. We've taken a break for a very long time and decided to come back with a new attitude, a new name. Let's try it a little bit different this time. So I'm one of your hosts, Rick. With me, as always, is Sly Reflex, the man himself.
Hello, my name's Simon.
And yeah, this is going to be a bit of a positive start to a new podcast. Instead of shitting on stuff like we usually do, we've decided that we're gonna look at games, dead franchises that we feel should come back. So we've put our heads together. We've come up with 10, 5 each. To be honest, we could do a lot more than just these 10 that we've picked. So I think we're going to do a couple more of these 10 games that we can bring back, just because there's so many dead franchises that we feel need to sort of be revitalised again.
Yeah, this is going to be a positive show this time. So yeah, let's kick off. What's your first game?
Right, so my first pick is obvious to anyone who's ever watched the Strange Play stuff that we used to do. It's Splinter Cell. Bring back Splinter Cell. So the last game came out in 2013. So it's been 7 years now. Well, 6.5 years, nearly 7 years since Blacklist came out. Splinter Cell is like the best stealth franchise. It just got consistently better, I feel anyway. So the first one that I played was Double Agent. And people didn't really like that one because it was a change to formula. But it was the first one I played, and I thought it was great. Went back and played 1, 2, and 3. And then Conviction came out. And again, massively changed the formula. So it divided the fan base quite a lot. But I loved it. It was like playing a Tom Clancy action movie. It was absolutely superb. And then, what felt like 100 years later, Blacklist came out, and Blacklist just perfectly merged Chaos Theory and Conviction to create something that felt new but also familiar. You were allowed to approach the levels differently. You could go all action, you could go stealth, no kills, or you could go stealth with kills, and you'd be rewarded differently depending on how you played, and you could actually spec your character using armor, I guess you could call it armor, but like his bodysuits that he'd wear and his weapons that he'd got, you could upgrade those to fit your playstyle. Just awesome, and it was so good, and it felt like not even a return to form. It just felt like the perfect merge of old Splinter Cell and new Splinter Cell.
Yeah, they reimagined it, but they kept all the best bits, and it was just an amalgam of everything that were good about Splinter Cell.
Yeah, now the one problem that everyone had with it is that they replaced Michael Ironside. He no longer did the voice of Sam Fisher. It was a new guy called Eric Johnson, and people didn't really like him because it was the same thing with when... Well, I guess it was kind of the opposite, but the same with what happened with Solid Snake, where they take an established voice actor and replace him with a Hollywood actor. In this one, they took the Hollywood actor and replaced him with a voice actor.
It was stupid, wasn't it? It was an unneeded thing to be doing.
It just wasn't right. And apparently, Ironside was on set while the new guy was recording his lines to sort of coach him through it.
That must be a real kick in the teeth as well, because that's sort of your property when you think of it. Your voice is that character, so he sort of belongs to you. It reminds me of more recently with the Borderlands stuff, with the Tales from the Borderlands characters being in Borderlands 3, but not voicing them.
Yeah.
Because, for whatever reasons. I'm not going to get into it, because it is really weird that they would do that. And I think as well, like, Ubisoft know that there's a big calling for this, because they've put this Splinter Cell stuff in everything. Sam Fisher showed up, or there's references to Sam Fisher in all the Clancy games.
Yeah, they brought him into Wildlands. Before that, I think Third Echelon were mentioned in Tom Clancy's Hawks, which brought it in. And then E3 last year, they teased Sam Fisher's return in that mobile game. You're doing stuff with him. Just give us a Splinter Cell game, but make sure it's a Splinter Cell game. And not an open world, climb towers to unlock your map, go to all your different objectives.
It's not a Far Cry alike.
Yeah.
We don't want a Far Cry alike. Yeah. We want actually proper design levels. And
so don't make a Ubisoft game, make a Splinter Cell game.
Yeah, I second that.
And bring it back, because I'm craving it. Metal Gear Solid shit the bed with 5, I feel.
It's done. Well, it's basically ended that series. I can't see it ever continuing, so... really the only continuation we've got with stealth games is Splinter Cell, if it ever comes back. And I'm sure it will, but in what form it'll come back, I just don't know, because this is Ubisoft we're talking about. Their games are very homogenised now. They're basically all the same, just wearing different coats. So do the right thing by Sam Fisher and give him the Splinter Cell game that he deserves and that we deserve. Thank you.
So that was number 10 on our list.
What's number 9? This is your pick, isn't it?
Yeah, my pick. So the way that we're doing these picks as well, probably should have said at the beginning, is we've taken 5 games each and we've put them in date order. It's not, this is what we feel is the most important that needs to come back to the least important. We're doing it in date order of the last game came out most recently to the last game came out a long time ago. Mm-hmm. So number 9 on my list, like you already said, Silent Hill. They really, really do need to bring Silent Hill back. So not including PT, which came out in 2014, because nobody knew that was a Silent Hill, and it was only a demo, so I'm not counting it at all. Before that, the last Silent Hill was Silent Hill Book of Memories, which came out in 2012, along with Silent Hill Downpour in 2012. So it's been 8 years since we had a Silent Hill game. It's been about 8 years since Konami made a decent game.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening with this franchise at all. And the thing is, I want Silent Hill to come back because it is one of, if not the best, survival horror games.
It's weird because, I mean, we have a lot of horror games, but they tend to be like more indie focused, whereas Silent Hill was a big AAA game. It was really, really big. Along with Resident Evil and stuff like Fatal Frame, you had a genre there that were catered to, but the AAA gaming stuff just seems to have abandoned it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I can't think of anything where it's like... I mean, we've had Resident Evil Remake 2 recently, and we're getting Resi 3 Remake, but as for the more psychological side of it, they just seem to have completely dropped the book on it. Like, it's just non-existent. And I don't understand why, because people want these games. People generally want these games.
Yeah, and I want Silent Hill, but again, as with the Splinter Cell picks, I do have a caveat for it. I want Silent Hill to be remade, but I do not want Konami to do it.
Yeah.
I want Konami to sell the license to somebody who can make a good psychological horror game. Because Resident Evil's got the action horror down pat. We need a good psychological horror. And I feel that Evil Within mixes the two well.
Yeah, it's got a foot in either camp on it, that game. Yeah,
but we do need Silent Hill to come back.
It'd be nice if it didn't come back in name, but it came back in a spiritual successor. That's the word I'm looking for. Even if Kojima did it, or someone like that, I'd be fine with that. Just any of those. Or even Del Toro. Like, I mean, there's people there that they can do it. They can do this. And they can throw money at it and make it a success. It is rather frustrating that we're having to wait so long for a Silent Hill game or a Silent Hill successor to break through. You know?
Yeah. So here we go. 2022, Quiet Mountain coming to PlayStation 5. That's what I think we should do with it. We should chip in, buy the rights, give it to someone like Mike Biffle. I think that's what you need to do, actually. You do need to get an indie team on it, because they do things that AAA studios don't think of or are not allowed to do, because the publishers will go, oh no, that's a bit too sideways.
Yeah, it's the more willing to take risks and do weird stuff, like go really out there, whereas a big AAA game is sort of designed by committee. I mean, we talked about it with the Splinter Cell and the Ubisoft occasion of games. We don't want that. We want the games to be their separate entities. And the horror genre, specifically Silent Hill and its more psychological horror, it needs to benefit from people doing weird stuff. That's where the most memorable parts of Silent Hill come from. It being weird. Yeah. You want it to be creepy. You want it to be spooky. You want it to be setting you on edge. Just walking down the corridor has got to make you feel uncomfortable. Whereas in a lot of games, you don't really feel that. They just completely lost it with the horror genre, I think, myself.
Yeah, that's the thing with Silent Hill as well. Like, the sound design is just as important to those games as the game design.
Yeah, I agree with you there. The walkie-talkie stuff from Silent Hill. Even now, like, when I'm in the car or whatever, and it does the old, you go under a bridge, and it sort of cuts out, and it's like it sort of, sometimes you get flashbacks to it.
Yeah.
And it's like, games are one of the few things that can do that. They're one of the few things that can just instantly transport you back to you're playing something, or you're being at a concert, or whatever. Like, you sort of get that thing where it's like, you just rip from where you are currently, and you have a flashback. And the Silent Hill games, in particular, have this really engrossing way of doing sound, where it's like, it's just perfect for the situation they're in. It is just ideal. And sometimes there's not a lot of sound at all. It's just ambience. But that's all you need, because it makes you feel alone. It makes you feel vulnerable. There's a thing called, I forget the name of it. It's like, do you know places that you're not meant to be? Like stairwells or parks at night.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel really, really uneasy. And the sound design in Silent Hill, even though they're based in places that are normally packed, hospitals, bowling alleys, all that other stuff, but the way that they make the sound, it sets you on edge. It just makes it feel weird. And like I say, you'll get to a point in your life where it'll be like, you'll be going, say like you've been on a night out, and you're walking through a snicket. You'll remember those things. It's like, it's that thing that spooks people, you know?
So, yeah, Silent Hill, number 9 on our list. Take the rights from Konami, give it to someone who gives a shit and can make a good game. Bring it back with incredible sound design, atmosphere, and memorable monsters and psychological horror. It's not difficult to ask, is it? It's not asking too much.
Yeah, we only want the moon on a stick.
I think we've got more chance of getting the moon on the stick than we do Silent Hill.
Hey, well, I'm sure Elon Musk is working on it right now. The next game, number 7, another one of yours, but it could just be as well mine, because I absolutely adore this series.
Yeah, this is definitely one that I think's for both of us. We have spoke about it several times before. Bring back Battlefield Bad Company. I don't give a shit about the Battlefield games, but Bad Company is one of the best first-person shooters ever made, in my opinion. I have such fun memories of it. Playing with you online, playing the story and laughing my ass off, going out and watching Three Kings after playing it, because I wanted to see where the big inspiration for the story beats came from. It's just such a good game. The map design was fantastic. The destructible environments were superb. It's everything else that's in a Battlefield game already, but there was an element of humour to it that just made it fun.
It were much more light-hearted, wasn't it? There were a lot of jokes in there.
Yeah.
And it were like, I think this is a thing that the Battlefield games have lost since Bad Company 2 came out. They've just become far too serious. Like, even the jokey lines when you're playing online, where it's like, oh, I'm getting my shit pushed in, and just stuff like that. It just feels like very, hoorah, do you know, it's very manly, man. And
it's just edgy instead of genuinely funny.
Yeah, it's not funny like in Bad Company when he says, oh, fuck, a grenade. It's genuinely funny because it's delivered in such a way that it's a bit comedic, if that makes sense. Like, it's not as poor-faced as the mainline games. And I think games would be nice if they just wasn't so serious all the time. Like, I'm just tired of it. I just want a bit of lightheartedness in my games. They don't need to be dead serious all the time. They just need to be entertaining. They need to be funny. They need to be more light-hearted. Just
fun.
Don't lay it on too thick. Yeah, just be fun. I think, especially with Bad Company as well, or the Bad Company series, is the destructibility as well were way more interesting than it were in the games that came after it.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about Battlefield 3 were garbage for destruction. It were awful. Battlefield 4 were a little bit better, but they sort of had this... I hate using this word, but they used Levolution, which changed the levels.
All right.
Absolute garbage. They did that one that were like Cops and Robbers, which were absolute rubbish.
Hardline, was it?
Hardline, yeah. Oh, God, it were awful. Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5. I mean, they're getting there, I think, with the destruction, but it still doesn't feel as nice as it did with Bad Company 2. Specifically Bad Company 2. Because it was one of those games where, specifically in Rush, one team would develop a meta, and it'd be like, okay, this is the most efficient tactic available for blowing the crates up or for defending the crates. And then the other team would work around it and like, okay, we can do this to prevent them from winning. But because of the way the destruction worked, it was always evolving. The map was always evolving. And sometimes it'd be totally levelled. There'd be nothing there. There won't be a tree stump left. There won't be a building left standing. And then other times you'd work it. And you'd tactically work in. It's like, okay, if I leave this building up, I've got cover. If I leave these trees in, I can use smoke and create a distraction. And you're just constantly working like that. It's like a tug of war between who can outsmart each other with tactics. And I've not really seen that in a Battlefield game since. Because it basically boils down to, okay, right, there's your choke points. There's your destruction. It don't really matter if those walls are in or out because, hey, it don't really matter. The levels are more, specifically the ones like Operation Locker and Metro. They're basically glorified Call of Duty maps. They're rubbish. And, it's one of those things where they need to go back and focus on that style of a map and that style of gameplay to really get the Battlefield series back on track. And if they mess that up with Bad Company when it eventually comes back, I'm sure it will because, people are clambering for it, then people riot. But I hope it doesn't. Fingers crossed.
I haven't played a Battlefield game for 10 years because I ended it with Battlefield 2. So it is coming up to the 10-year anniversary of Bad Company 2. So yeah, bring it back, bring back the fun, bring back the humour, bring back the old way of destructible environments. Just make it simple, fun, multiplayer gameplay, and I will jump straight back onto Battlefield Bad Company 3 if it ever comes out. So that was our pick for number 8. And now it's your turn to talk, finally, about one of your games. So what have you got for number 7?
Okay, so this is an underrated gem. It's PsyOps, the Mindgate Conspiracy. This came out in 2004. It got one game and then Midway collapsed and we never heard any more of it. It has had a spiritual successor in Control, but I don't think it's quite like Control myself.
So I've never played PsyOps.
For the uninitiated, PsyOps is a game about a psychic soldier. This is a guy who's got telekinetic powers. He can go behind people and mind read and take over bodies and make them do his bidding. It's just basically any psychic ability that you think of, he can do it. It was such a sandboxy game for its time that we've never really seen anything quite like it. Even the aforementioned Control never really quite got it. You had the skills and stuff, but this was like proper open-ended as far as it went for working your way through a level. And it was really quite gory as well. Like, for the time, it was a Midway game. So, Midway also published the Mortal Kombat games at the time, did they not?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, this took a very similar route through the violence. It was like, you could get people to commit suicide. I think the game actually was a bit of a torture simulator. Like, you could pull doors off hinges and, beat people to death with them. You could,
Christ.
Yeah, you could pin people to, ceilings and just, crush them against the ceiling. You could throw them off roofs. You could... basically, anything that you think you could do with telekinesis, you could do.
Can you squeeze someone's bladder and make them piss themselves?
Maybe not that. But, yeah, it was quite...
6 out of 10.
Yeah, it was quite revolutionary for its time because it was like, okay, how would you want to do this? We often get games where it's like, okay, you can play this in many different styles, but if you wanted to, you could just play that game as a shooter, just a straight-up shooter, and it'd be fine. Or you could do it where you played as stealthy, and you use the characters against themselves. Or you could use them like, pick a guy up and use him as a bullet sponge, as you were shooting other people. Like, there were a lot of different ways to play this game, and I think that it was one of those games that it sort of went under the bar. Like, people just, oh, it's there, and then it's gone because the financial trouble that Midway saw themselves in.
Yeah.
It did end on a cliffhanger as well, the story. Not that the story was important because, this is 2004 and stories in games then, well, just, here's a man, he's forgotten all these things, go and shoot some things and get your skills back. We've seen it like a million times before.
Yeah.
But the way that the levels were built and the way that it funneled you through your skills and stuff and allowed you to grow as a player, and it's like, okay, I like playing in this style. I like doing this. And do you know when you're playing a Zelda game and it's like, okay, right, I have to use this toy to beat this boss.
Yeah.
Well, it did a very similar thing in that, but obviously the bosses that you fought were way stronger than you. So, say like the one that could take over bodies, you had to beat him by taking over bodies yourself or something like that. Like it was one of those things like, okay, you've got the skill now, you've got to beat him, but you've got to juggle all your other skills as well. It's not a case of just overpowering him because you just can't do that. And by the end of the game, it's like you just get so powerful that you're lobbing like train carts about, and I think the guy that you're fighting is pulling the moon into the earth. It's just, honestly, it's the most ridiculous thing.
Back to the moon again.
Yeah, on a stick. But what I'd like out of a sequel for this game is just that ludicrousness. I just want it to be like overtly gory. Basically, do you know when we get newspapers and they really go in for a game?
Yeah.
This is the sort of game that they should be going in for. Like, you can put out fires with bodies and stuff and like just really go all out. Just be as disgusting as you possibly can, because it's like a toy box. Just be the 18 rated version of the Zelda game that's out on Switch. You know, where you can do anything with the physics and stuff. Like,
yeah.
just give them a toy box and just let them go with it, and just let them be as vile as they possibly want to be, because yeah, that's what Psyops is about to me, about being disgusting with magic powers.
I'm going to have to track this down and check it out because it does sound interesting.
It's actually vaporware. You can play it on PC for free.
And I'm going to have to check it out. So that was our number 7. Moving on to number 6.
What we got?
We're back to one of my picks. The big one, bring back Legacy of Kain. I absolutely adore this series. From the first Blood Omen all the way to Defiance. I just have such fun memories of it. Playing Blood Omen with my friend Rich, quoting the townsfolk who were being held in stocks and stuff, just like, please help me, kind sir, before just ripping their blood out. Soul Reaver, Legacy of Kain, one of the best, I guess, open world, because it was all connected, and they hid the loading screens through opening door animations and elevators and stuff.
Not to forget as well, it also did the light and dark world in 3D in real time. No loading.
Yeah, which was incredible. The characters were great. The voice acting was incredible. I think it was Simon Templeman was Kain, and he was just so good. Like, he's an incredible voice actor anyway, and I want to go back to that world. Defiance ended in such a way. Kain's still alive, I think, if I remember correctly, for the end of Defiance. And that game itself was superb. Like, Amy Hennig directed it, so of course it was going to be great. But you played half the game as Kain and half of it as Raziel. And even the last boss battle, you'd do one half of it as Kain fighting Raziel, and then the other half as Raziel fighting Kain. So you were the hero and the villain. And it was such an interesting way of doing it. The gameplay changed up quite a bit for it. It became more like God of War, Devil May Cry-ish, with like static camera angles and big flashy moves and stuff. But I'd love to see a return to just the exploration platformer, finding new abilities and things as you go, using them against bosses. Again, very Zelda-inspired. Maybe having the soul world and the living world again. You can do so much with it and write such a good story with it that it's just waiting to come back. And I don't want it to be remade or I want it to be rebooted, but I want it to be picked up from where we left off. It's like a soft reboot, kind of like the new Star Wars films are compared to the previous ones. I want to go back to that world and see how it's changed since we last visited there. So Defiance came out in 2003. It's been 17 years since Defiance, and they did try and bring it back in 2015 with Nosgoth, which was like a multiplayer shooty battle game where it was so good that I didn't know it was out, and it shut down a year later. So that's not a good sign. So I'm not counting that one at all. I'm just counting the core Legacy of Kain games. So yeah, I absolutely love. I'm going to say you've covered pretty much everything that I want to say about Legacy of Kain, apart from the fact that Kain is a badass and Raziel is possibly the smoothest character ever in a game. He's like effortlessly cool. That's the thing as well. The characters are so good. Like Kain is one of the best villains because the fact that you start off with Blood Omen Legacy of Kain, playing as Kain, you see his story, and then with him being the villain in Soul Reaver, if you've played Blood Omen, you're sympathising with Kain. Like you get it.
Yeah, he's an out-and-out bastard, but he's got motives for doing what he's doing.
Yeah, and he's so good. He's one of those villains that's just so well written, and he's genuinely complex. He's not just like a moustache twirling, oh, I'm diabolical. Like there's a reason for why he is the way he is. And again, with Raziel, one of the most effortlessly cool characters ever created. Let's return to that world.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Those games are such fantastic games. And also, software engineering, like marvels for the time as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like really, really pushing the boat out for coding then. And level design as well. Like some of it, well, the early Soul Reaver games were fantastic.
Yeah, I actually want to go through Soul Reaver again. But yeah, that's number 6 on our list. So moving on to number 5, which I believe is one of yours. What have you got for us?
Number 5, it's Metal Arms, Glitching the System. Now, when Rik pitched this idea to me about what games should we bring back, this was one of the games where I was like, this, like instantly, it were like, I know what this choice is going to be, and it's cemented in. Again, like Psyops, it was one of those games that came out, massive critical reception for it, and it sold like absolute junk. I don't know many people that played it.
I haven't.
But the people that did play it absolutely adored it. For the people that don't know what it is, you play it as a little robot, and it's a third-person shooter that takes cues from Halo with the weapons, but you can upgrade them. Okay. Like it's got an upgrade tree, but also it's got the all like getting in vehicles and stuff like Halo 2. But the big thing is you can hijack the other robots. If you ever played a game called Paradroid on the Commodore 64, this is like the Nazis version of that. Okay. And it was fantastic. In ways, it reminded me of playing Splatoon, because you've got these little characters and they're all like, do you know, your AI buddies are all running around and sort of helping you add a little army. And I don't know, like it was one of those games that when I experienced it the first time, I was like, I can't believe that this has flopped, because more people should be on this. It's ridiculous. It was so good. And the bosses in it were ridiculous as well. Like there was one boss where you had to save a guy from being crushed. And when you saved him, you played as him for a little bit, so you were like just this big Joe Stompy robot.
Yeah.
There were another boss where you had to line dance. So you were in like a Joe manufacturing where they were making the robots.
Yeah.
And they were testing the robots. Like, take a step to the left, take a step to the right, turn left, jump. And you had to do the thing. And if you got caught out, Joe, doing the wrong thing, it's like, imposter, destroy him.
It sounds a bit Ratchet and Clankish.
It is, yeah. It is very Ratchet and Clank. In fact, the most Ratchet and Clank thing about it is the humour. Like, it is really sort of Joe, like slapstick, sort of jokey. In fact, one of the things that you could do in it is you could take yourself apart and just leave yourself as junk on the floor as a stealth mechanism.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, it was such a good game.
That was so cool.
Yeah, it was such a good game. And, like, I think if they were to redo it, like, I'd be happy if they just remastered it, to be honest. Maybe take the difficulty down a bit, because it was excruciatingly hard. Like, I'm not even joking, it was so difficult. I think it was probably the worst thing about the game is that the difficulty were just through the roof at points. But everything else, yeah, it was perfect. It also had a foul-mouthed robot in it. Like, it's the first time I think I've ever heard, like, full-on swearing in the game. Yeah. But it had to be bleeped out, because it was just, it was so, like, close to the bone that this guy was just swearing. It was like, wow, this is... I never played anything quite like it since. And it's weird because it's one of those concepts that you think people would be all over. But they tried it. They hit it for a 6. And then nobody else has even considered it. It's like, what's going on here? We're back to the Silent Hill thing when it's like, is anyone going to take this ball and run? Or, like, I don't know. It's so confusing. And it breaks my heart a little bit that I think it was Vivendi that did it.
It was Sierra.
It was Sierra. And it sort of got lost, when they merged with Activision. That Metal Arms never really got the praise that it needed or the sequels that it deserved because, I don't know, like, I think it fell on deaf ears and it is a real shame that it ended up where it was because it really is. It's a cult hit. Like, without a doubt, one of my favourite games from that era. It was just so funny. Like, everything it did was perfect. And I'm really saddened that it never gained the traction that it could have done. So Metal Arms were number 5. What's number 4?
So number 4 is my last pick for the list, actually. So you've got the final 3. Dark Chronicle or Dark Cloud. So I want the Dark Cloud series to come back.
I don't know anything about this series at all. This is the first time I've actually seen it being mentioned.
So Dark Cloud came out on PlayStation 2, and then a few years later, Dark Chronicle, which is the spiritual successor, kind of. In America, it was called Dark Cloud 2, but over here, it was Dark Chronicle. What it is it's an action-adventure game with village simulator stuff added into it.
Right.
So the towns and people of the world have been dispersed. They've just disappeared. So you have to go into your dungeon, explore the dungeon like a Zelda game, and find trees, buildings, villagers, pets. And then when you come out of the dungeon, you open up your village planning pot and then place everything that you found on the ground.
Right.
And you have to rebuild the village. So you go into the dungeon, find your bits, come back, build a bit, go back in, find some more, come out, build a bit. But what's really cool is the villagers are walking around and you'll talk to them and people will be like, oh, I really wish that my bedroom window faced south.
Right.
So then you can go to their house, pick it up, rotate it, drop it, talk to them again. Yeah, that's perfect. And then you'll have people like, oh, I really don't like being next door to this person. So then you have to move their house or put a house in between them.
Right.
And you talk to the villagers and sort of like rebuild the village to their spec.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're done, you move on to the next town. It's such an interesting idea that I don't know why we only got 2 games from it. And it's from Level 5 as well, who are just shit-hot developers.
This sounds, if I am correct, it sounds a bit like Ease. You played a game called Ease where you did this sort of community-driven thing, yeah?
No, like, I see where you're coming from, because when I was playing Ease 8, yeah, you had to go and find the shipwrecked people, then they'd go back to the little commune. But that was just people being there, and then they'd want you to do stuff for them. This is actually rebuilding the village.
Yeah, it was binary, whereas this is like modular.
Yeah, this is actually rebuilding a village.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got multiple characters that you play as, and you find them, they join your party, but you play one at a time. You just switch them out.
Right.
As you're going through the dungeon. I would love to see that on the PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 now, because it is a Sony published game, with new graphics, because the graphics of Dark Cloud were cool, just Zelda-like, but Dark Chronicle was cel-shaded.
Right.
And it looked really nice. So the things that you can do with cel shading in games now, do another cel shaded one, but maybe make not a more complex battle system, but sort of like a more rewarding battle system. Add some character customization would be great, because it'd go with the whole building thing. And you could really expand the building aspect of it to do something, not complicated, but maybe a little bit more involved.
Is the modern version of Dark Cloud or Chronicle, that Dragon Quest building game, is that sort of similar?
No, because that's literally just Minecraft.
It's just Minecraft with a Japanese skin.
Yeah, I haven't played anything like Dark Cloud or Dark Chronicle.
It's we've got a very unique list of games here, haven't we? Yeah. Really, when you look at it.
You can actually buy Dark Chronicle and Dark Cloud on the PlayStation 4. They're about $5.99 each on the PlayStation Store. And because they've been redone, they've got trophies in them. They are well worth picking up if you've never played it. If you've never played one, pick up Dark Chronicle because it's the more advanced version of the game. But I think you'd enjoy it because it's got the really good adventure combat. Yeah,
it's got the tinkering and stuff. Like when I played Stardew, just constantly managing my farm and stuff and just moving it one square to the left because that's the way that I wanted it. It's got that sort of gameplay in it.
Yeah, I actually think you'd really like Dark Chronicle.
Yeah, it's actually pressing my buttons. What you're telling me, I've never heard of this game before. Like, it's genuinely out of your choice. It's like, I've never heard of this one before. Because I thought it were going to be like some RPG, JRPG thing. It's like, oh, Rick's doing his JRPG thing. I'm gonna tune out for 10 minutes. Yeah, it sounds right up my alley with the base building and stuff.
Right, so that's number 4. Bring back Dark Chronicle. We're into the bottom 3 now. So what is number 3?
Okay, so Colony Wars.
Good old Colony Wars.
This was a massive game at the time. Well received. Again, I think it did really well. It got 2 games, I think.
Well, I only found out today that there was a third one.
Oh, I didn't know there were a third one.
Yeah.
I played the first 2. I actually think Colony Wars was the first game I played that had multiple endings.
Yeah.
Because I remember playing it numerous times to try and get the different endings. Some of them were really, really... Well, another difficult game, along with Metal Arms.
Yeah.
This game was a ball breaker, but I mean, I had time to burn then, so I did everything. But yeah, Colony Wars. And it's kind of weird that we don't really get these types of games anymore. The, like the space flight combat. I don't know how I'd explain this, but I mean...
It's kind of like a linear flight space sim, almost.
Yeah, I mean, you've got missions.
Yeah, like it's not as open as something like Elite.
But... Yeah, Elite's just go do, Joe, what you want to do. If you get into combat, you get into combat. If you don't, you don't. Whereas Colony Wars were very set, focused missions where you had to go either do space combat. I think the second game had land combat.
Yeah.
Yeah, like land combat as well. But yeah, the only game I can think of that's had that since was the Strike Suit games, which I loved as well, but they weren't Colony Wars.
No.
Yeah, there was something very special about Colony Wars, that it just like the way it worked, the way it controlled.
It was like the adult version of Star Fox.
Yeah, that's a really good comparison. Yeah, it was.
The thing that I loved about it as well is if you failed a mission, the story continued.
Yeah, it did. It was just like, oh, well, you bollocksed up, but we've still got...
like branching paths almost, and you get rewarded or penalised. And then, because I only saw the bad ending for it because I just kept losing. Because, like you said, it's balls hard.
Yeah, well, terrible for difficulty. Really difficult. But yeah, it was such a good game. And like, we had the... what were those games with Mark Hamill? Wing Commander. Like, those games, it were better than those by far. I think the only game that I think has even come close to even getting near Colony Wars was TIE Fighter. I don't know if you ever played that.
No, I never played TIE Fighter. I've only played Rogue Squadron. Right,
okay, yeah. Those games were fantastic. But Colony Wars, yeah, just hands down the best simulation of dogfighting in space.
Yeah, British game as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to notice a pattern with these last 3 games. But yes, Colony Wars is just like, why were it just abandoned? Like, it's such a weird...
Well, the last one came out in 2000, and it was Psygnosis. I think this was like their last PS1 game.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, they were moved on to whatever they were doing on the PlayStation 2. Why they didn't bring it over to the PlayStation 2, I will never know, because with that software, it would have been so much better than it was, and it was already really good.
Well, I think the thing was, it was a bit hardcore for people. It was a little bit before its time. I think that's why it failed, because really you needed a dual shot to play it.
Yeah.
Like, it was one of those games where... Do you ever remember the first time you played a PlayStation 1 and someone gave you, like, Tunnel B1 to play, and it were like, you were just all over the place? Well, Colony Wars sort of suffered that. Like, I think it was too complex for its own good for the people that were playing those games at the time, and you needed to invest a lot of time to get good at it.
That's the thing. Now is the perfect time for it to come back, because you've got games like Dark Souls and the community and stuff that's around them, and that's a big popular series. People are now more open to difficult, like hardcore games where you need to learn the ins and outs of the game.
Yeah. And it's not that. I think people are mechanically fluent with their hands, are controlling these things now, because you need to be able to use a dual stick controller. You need to be able to use a keyboard and mouse or whatever you're using to control your games. And to maintain the dexterity that Colony Wars needed, you need those input devices. You need to be savvy. You can't just... It's not like controlling like Mario, Joe, with an analog stick. It's quite a complex thing. You're flying a vehicle in 3D space and also shooting like in front, like Joe, you're leading targets and stuff, like, and shaking targets as well. Like it's one of those things where you need to be quite mentally dexterous with not only your hands but also with your mind and Joe working things out in 3D space. And a lot of people just can't do that. It's too hard for them.
It'll be interesting to play the third one, because that came out in 2000, which means that it would have been analog compatible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it probably would have been based around an analog stick, so I might actually keep an eye out for that one, because I didn't know it existed until today.
No, me either. That's like a complete surprise to me. But yeah, those first two games, impeccable. I loved them so much.
Yeah. So that was number 3. What is our number 2?
Number 2, it's another Psygnosis game. It's Lemmings. Wow, what a blast from the past. So, the last outing for Lemmings was an atrocious 3D attempt.
Lemmings Revolution in 2000.
I think we're past the era of wanting to port 2D games into 3D space. And I think this is an important thing for Lemmings. Just because we can do it in 3D means that we have to do it in 3D. 2D games are perfectly fine. And I think that the way that the independent revolution has gone, and it sort of brought on this wave of 2D games that have gone on to be, I mean, quite simplistic, some of them, like Faster Than Light is basically a screenshot. Plague Inc., again, is just a map. Like, we don't need complex games or complex animations to make a good game. But what you do need is great design. You need great level design. You need interesting levels and what have you. And Lemmings, specifically the old ones, those games gave you that. They gave you interesting ways of navigating levels and also interesting pitfalls and, stuff to work your way around. And it's sad to say that we've not really had anything like Lemmings for a long, long time.
I was just going to say that. It seems to be one of the... I mean, Worms is still going. That went to 3D and then came back into 2D.
Yeah.
But Lemmings seems to be the only thing from that era that hasn't been aped.
Yeah. There was the Mario one, Joe, with the little wind-up Marios. Oh, I forget what it was called. It was sort of the Lemmings type, Joe. Get the Marios to the end. The little mechanical Marios. But I don't know, like, it just sort of... It was missing something. And I think to bring Lemmings back and really show people, it's like, okay, right, guys, this is how you do it. Even if it's just just updating it, just a complete reskin into 4K graphics or whatever. Even though they're 2D, just make them nice and crisp. Bring all the cheesy music back and go, hey, look, these are your levels. This is how it works.
What would you prefer? Would you prefer it to be 2.5D, but on a 2D plane, not a cylindrical thing like Revolutions was, or just have it as really detailed pixel art?
I'd rather have it as detailed pixel art, if I'm being honest. I don't mind the idea of having like parallax scrolling and like 3D stuff in the background, but the actual plane that you're walking on, yeah, I'd rather that be 2D, if I'm being honest. As well, I think when you bring 3D stuff into games like these, it gets confusing when there's hazards. Joe, what can kill you and what isn't part of the foreground, what isn't part of the background. I had this problem with, you mentioned Worms.
Yeah.
and I can't remember which one it was.
Oh, Christ. When we were playing it, I think it's when we were playing WMD, when you came over. And, yeah, I remember several times where you, I, and the two guys that we were playing with...
You just couldn't tell what were the foreground and what were the background.
You'd jump for something, thinking you were going to land on a ledge, and you're like, no, that was the background, and you'd just fall.
And there were other things as well where the background was sort of... You could explode it, and it could damage, and it could take damage, but it did nothing else, and it was just like, this is really confusing. Like, you'd set something up, and it'd blow up the background. It's like, well, that were good. Like, we have to be careful with stuff like this. Like, you have to be able to sit down in front of a game and understand it instantly.
Yeah.
It can be as deep as it wants, but eventually you have to sort of look at the design and go, look, right, I need to put this in front of someone that's never played it before, and they're going to need to understand what's going on within minutes. Because for some people, that's all you've got.
Yeah.
It's got to be easy to pick up and hard to master. I know it's like a tropey thing to say, but that is the ideal thing for this type of game. It has to be instantly attainable to get the goal for the first levels, and gradually get harder and harder and harder, which Lemmings did. It was a nice smooth gradient into like insanity. And no one's doing it. Like, what happened? It's an iconic game series, and it's just been left out to pasture. So, come on, guys, bring Lemmings back, eh?
It's been nearly 20 years since the last Lemming game.
Yeah, that's obscene. Man, there's some people that have that'll be listening to this that have never ever played a Lemmings game. They've never seen one. They won't even know what it is.
There'll be some people listening to this who were born after the last Lemmings game came out.
No, this makes me feel old.
They're just listening to these two old men reminiscing. Do you remember when everything was good? Let's make it good again. Yeah, so that was number 2. So we are finally down to the final game on our list. Again, the order that it's in is most recent release to furthest away release. We've just done one that was 20 years ago since the last game came out. This game came out 23 years ago.
Yeah, this is really, really old. Hello, Psygnosis. I'm back again.
Oh, Christ. This is a Psygnosis game, isn't it?
G-Police. Yeah. Now...
Sorry, my bad. G-Police 2 came out 21 years ago.
Yeah. G-Police. Again, bollock breaking hard. Like, what were it with Psygnosis and making hard games? They were breaking everyone's testicles.
I mean, come on. They made Wipeout. Like...
Yeah. Another game which was... Oh, man, it made me cry. It was so difficult. But yeah, G-Police. We don't really have any law enforcement games, and we don't, especially not any space-based ones.
No.
And G-Police was, the first one, it was pretty good, but the second one is the one where it was like, okay, right, it was really out of its running blocks then. G-Police 2 were a work of art, man. That whole future Blade Runner aesthetic and, you know, the way that you dealt with crime and stuff, oh, man, just like, what happened to games like this? They stopped. And I don't understand why, because... This is the perfect example of doing this type of game correctly. And we look back at the games that were big on the PlayStation 1. Stuff like Destruction Derby and Roll Cage. They've all had current gen reimaginings. Like Roll Cage had one. I can't remember what it was called. Destruction Derby had Breakfast, which is doing the rounds now. But yeah, G-Police, no one picked the ball up and ran with it. It just got abandoned. It's been kicked up on someone's roof somewhere and just left to deflate. Like, it's no one's even give it a second thought. And I think that's really sad because at the time, G-Police were like the dog's bollocks. It was one of those games that no matter whose game collection you went to, it were like everyone respected it. It was one of the games that, like, yeah, it's like, it's up there with the Tekkens and the Ridge Races and stuff. Like, people really, really adored this game.
I've never played it.
Really? Oh, let me tell you, my friend, it is... Get ready for your ass kicking because it is brutally difficult. It really, really is hard. I'm not understating with these games. I always thought I were quite good at games, but then I played Psygnosis games and just realised that I were a pretender because they were just frustratingly difficult. Like, I think maybe even harder than the Souls games that are out currently. Because games back then, I think a lot of them were difficult. They were coming off the era of arcades where they were designed to eat your money, and they were like, okay, right, these games they
all controlled like shit as well.
Yeah, a lot of them did. Which is, I think, if they were to remake G-Police, that would have to be a thing that looked at, because it could be kind of frustrating to control at times. It were, for the people that don't know about G-Police, you are controlling a futuristic helicopter, I think is the best way to explain it. And yeah, it's if you are bad at flying helicopters in games, then maybe give G-Police a miss. If you can do it though, yeah, you'd love it. Like it's such a good game. And also law enforcement as well. Like, we don't really have that many law enforcement games, do we?
Well, law enforcement aren't very popular at the minute, are they?
Well, I mean...
Current climate and all.
Yeah, I mean, it actually reminds... I know this is a little bit of a sideways step, but there were a pinball game by the people that made Warframe, and one of the pinball tables were riot police. And it was just like basically killing people. It's the riot police. It's like, holy shit, like if you made that today, like honestly, I don't know if they could get it past today, because it's just so insensitive. It's just straight up killing people. Like, yeah, absolute madness. There were different times, Rick.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we've sort of progressed past that. But yeah, I think G-Police, if done correctly and a bit more sensitive with the climate in today's politics and policing, it could be so good. Come on, guys. Whoever owns the name now, do a reboot. I'd love you forever.
He would, you know, and he's a very, very generous lover.
Choked on me on what?
Perfect timing.
Okay. So, yeah, that's our 10 games.
Yeah, it's not definitive. There's a hell of a lot more that you want to talk about. So let us know if you want us to do another one of these episodes later on down the line where we talk about another 10 games that we should bring back. If you're listening to this on YouTube, let us know in the comments which game series you'd like to see come back.
Oh, I'd love that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Get a conversation
going,
and we'll probably end up featuring some of them in the next episode that we do. And where can they find you, Simon?
You can find me at Twitch, Sly Reflex. It's there's an underscore in between the two words. And you can also find Rick and Mark over at Crush Souls.
Yeah, youtube.com/Crush Souls, where me and my friend Mark, who will get mentioned a lot during these podcasts, are playing through the From Software Dark Souls games and any other Souls-like that we can think of, really. So yeah, be sure to check those out. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and yeah.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
We need to think of a better ending for these. See you later.